Hello from sunny Alberta. Just out for another walk, and such a beautiful day. I thought I'd sit and have a little chat with you about what's going on here lately. It's been about a month since I did my video on how I'd like to get my rights back. Currently there's roughly 6 million Canadians that don't even have the right to fly within their own country. And I believe there's only 3 countries on the planet that are doing this right now. There's China, North Korea, and Canada. So we're in a distinguished group. But I did just check the COVID provincial data again in 4 different provinces: BC, Alberta, Manitoba, and Ontario. And yeah, it's not looking good. In the last 120 days in Alberta, just over 75% of deaths that are attributed to COVID were vaccinated people, with the majority being triple vaccinated. And a majority of those people are in the targeted age group, sadly, that is 60 to 80 plus years old. And again, a majority of them were already pretty sick people or had underlying serious conditions or illnesses. But again, the provincial data shows that the majority of COVID infections, the majority of ICU patients, and sadly the majority of deaths recently, at least in the last 4, 6, 8 months, are vaccinated people. And you're not going to see this on the news, which is why I make these videos. And the people that don't like this information, all I do is type in hospitalization by vaccination status into the internet and go to the various provincial data COVID websites. So, data COVID website. Okay. Anyway. So I don't know where the Liberals are getting their science from, because the science that's available to the public from the few provinces that actually make it public or update it, which seems to be about half or less, it clearly shows that it's certainly no longer a pandemic of the unvaccinated. And anyway, we all know where this is going. And recently, the Liberals were tabling another bill about banning legal handguns from future purchase, trading, selling, or importing. And I don't know, I mean, at this point, I don't believe their intentions to be good. Maybe some of them are, and they're just misguided or don't understand how, reality works. But you can make 1 million new firearm laws tomorrow, and it doesn't affect people that don't follow laws. In Canada, on average, there is about 250 homicides by use of firearm. We have more homicides than that, but the portion of it involving firearms is about 250. Now on the news, they're talking about decriminalizing hard drugs. They're starting this in British Columbia. And this is, opiates, cocaine, methamphetamine, etc. So I checked the provincial information from BC just to compare numbers and see what's really harming Canadians or not. And in British Columbia, the recent numbers are they had over 2,200 overdose deaths. So we've got on one hand here where we have shootings and firearm homicides, which obviously are a problem, with the majority being urban centers and gangs and mainly illegal firearms that are smuggled into Canada, which are not affected by any law. While they're giving money to Ukraine and giving money here and wasting money there and losing track of it, I firmly believe that this is Christmas for organized crime. because when something on the street is prohibited or illegal, generally the prices increase. So I would not be surprised if in the near future here, if this goes through, the demand for firearms will not change. Criminals will still want them, and they'll want them even more knowing that there's less around for everyone else. And this will increase profits for organized crime, which thusly will increase smuggling. I mean, it's not rocket science. If something was worth $500 yesterday, and tomorrow it's now worth $1,000, would you want to sell more of that product? Probably, yeah. So, as a firearms owner, I also want people to be safe, and I want the end of smuggling, and I don't want to be robbed or carjacked or have my home invaded or anything. I don't like criminals. I don't want them to have firearms. But these laws are not making sense, and most people who aren't programmed by the mainstream media and actually, can think for themselves for a minute, understand this. You've got on one hand, about 250 firearm homicides a year, which are terrible, and we try to minimize. Again, mostly criminals and gangs. And on the other hand, you have 2,200 plus overdose deaths just in British Columbia. And they're talking about decriminalizing drugs. Now, I understand some folks will say, okay, it's to help people with addictions, and people maybe with mental health issues or addiction problems shouldn't be in jail. I get it. I get it where you're coming from. Doesn't make sense, though. I mean, if you're looking at what kills Canadians, what puts Canadians at risk or risks their safety, cancer kills, 80,000 Canadians a year? Plus more now because many people didn't have treatments and surgeries during COVID. The government taxes fast food and cigarettes on every corner. They're not really concerned about your safety or your health. Not really. So it's just topsy-turvy. You look around and decisions don't make sense are being made. And it's just very, very odd. And the suppression of the truth is really getting out of control. I mean, everything I talk about, you can easily find for yourself on the internet with like a 3-second search, and then you'll still have those people that say cite your sources and blah 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 in your book. And I simply am relaying the government information to whoever watches these videos, because the media won't. We had a milestone in Canada. The media was all reporting about, Canada has hit 40,000 COVID deaths about a week or two ago, and they all reported that for a day or two. What they didn't report is that we have now over 46,000 vaccine adverse reactions reported. So Canada, as of today, June 2nd or 3rd, whatever day it is, vaccine adverse reactions reported have surpassed COVID deaths. Now, if you look at this information, it will say that most of the adverse reactions are minor. Well, they're not minor to the people experiencing them, right? It's easy for the government to say that's not a problem, this is a problem, right? But if you put this information on social media, quite often it's suppressed or removed. And I've never seen the amount of truthful information be suppressed to the point it is right now. I'm sure it has in the past, but boy, is it ever obvious. So we all know that the COVID deaths were over-reported. They attributed a lot of people dying with COVID from COVID. So when they say 40,000, what's the true number? And it's all sad. I'm not minimizing anyone's losing their family members or anything, but we're talking about the big picture here and people's rights and the way it's affected society and all of this, the big picture. I know on a micro level, if it was your mom or dad, of course it's terrible, and it would be for me too. But we haven't really had any accountability from COVID yet, and the restrictions that are still in place, and the effect on Canadians, and the balance of was it worth it? Have we had a look back or any kind of study to say, hey, did this work? Was it good? Was it bad? I haven't heard of any of that. I'm sure maybe somewhere it's going on, but if it involves the government, they're going to do everything they can to make themselves look good. It's just sad times. I mean, we have beautiful weather and most people are able to travel, and they're forgetting about all this. And Trudeau was already talking about variants happening in the fall, which is why he's keeping restrictions. So can this guy tell the future? Does he know something we don't know? We're in a good group with China and North Korea. None of this really makes sense to me, and YouTube will probably suppress this video, and hardly anyone will see it. But everything I talked about is widely available on the internet. Take 10 minutes, look at the various government websites, provincial and federal. COVID data suppressed, deaths overcounted, reactions undercounted. Nobody's legally responsible. Good times. So hopefully, roughly 6 million Canadians get our rights back very, very soon. And then never forget that they were taken. Have a good day.